Life often feels like a series of chapters, some filled with joy and success, others marked by struggle and uncertainty. There are moments when we believe we have reached the end of our journey, that our mistakes have defined us, or that our circumstances become too overwhelming to move forward. It is in these moments of doubt that we must remember a simple yet profound truth. God's not finished with you. The story of your life is still being written, and the author of your existence has not put down his pen. There are times when the weight of failure makes it seem like there is no way forward. Perhaps a dream you once held dear has crumbled, or a path you believed was meant for you has suddenly come to an end. You might feel lost, uncertain of your purpose, or burdened by the past. But what you see is the end of the road, God sees as a turning point. What you consider a final chapter, he knows is only a pause before something greater unfolds. The detours, the obstacles, and even the heartbreaks are not there to stop you. They are there to shape you, to prepare you for what is yet to come. Think of the many lives transformed by God's timing and purpose. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and unjustly imprisoned. By all human reasoning, his story should have ended in despair. But God was not finished with him. Every hardship, every moment of suffering was leading him toward a destiny greater than he could have imagined. He rose from the darkness of a prison to the highest ranks of power, becoming the very person who would save his family and an entire nation. The story seemed to be against him, but God was still writing it. Moses, once a prince of Egypt, fled into the wilderness after committing an act of violence. He lived as a shepherd, far from the grandeur of the palace, likely believing that his purpose had been lost. But God was not done with him. Even in his old age, he was called back to lead his people to freedom, proving that no amount of time, failure, or exile could erase the plans God had in store. His story was not over just because he thought it was. David was anointed to be king at a young age, but spent years running for his life from Saul, hiding in caves and facing betrayal. There must have been moments when he questioned whether God's promise was still true. Yet, despite the trials, his story was still unfolding. When the time was right, he took the throne, fulfilling the destiny that had been planned for him long before he ever knew what lay ahead. Your story is no different. You may have faced rejection, loss, or disappointment, but those moments do not define your final chapter. You may feel as though you have failed beyond redemption, but failure is not where your journey ends. God is still working in ways you cannot yet see. The struggles you are facing are not proof that he has abandoned you. They are part of the process of preparation for something greater. Pain has a way of making us believe that our best days are behind us. The enemy whispers that we have gone too far, made too many mistakes, or lost too much time. But God does not operate within human limitations. He does not see time the way we do. What we think is lost, he can restore. What we assume is broken beyond repair, he can make whole. The pieces of your life that seem scattered and without meaning are not forgotten. They are being woven together into a masterpiece beyond your understanding. Even when life does not make sense, even when prayers seem unanswered, and even when the road ahead is unclear, know that your story is still unfolding. The delays, the struggles, and the uncertainties are not indicators of failure. They are markers of a greater purpose at work. Just because you cannot see the outcome does not mean there isn't one. Just because you do not understand the process does not mean it is without purpose. Every chapter of your life has meaning, even the ones filled with hardship. The brokenness you have experienced does not disqualify you. In fact, it is often through brokenness that the greatest transformations take place. The trials that seem unbearable are often the very things that lead to your greatest growth. What feels like an ending is often the foundation of a new beginning. The enemy would love for you to believe that you are finished, that you have nothing left to give, that your past has sealed your fate. But the truth is that God's plans for you are still in motion. The dreams he placed within you, the purpose he called you to, and the destiny he designed for you have not been erased. He has not given up on you. and he never will. Even in seasons of waiting, even when it seems like nothing is changing, trust that he is still at work. The unseen work of God is often the most powerful. When a seed is planted in the ground, it takes time before it breaks through the surface. There is growth happening long before it is visible. Your life is the same. Just because you do not see progress does not mean nothing is happening. The transformation is already underway. You may not understand why certain things have happened. You may not see the reason for the struggles you have endured. But if you could see the full picture, if you could glimpse the masterpiece that is being created, you would know that nothing has been wasted. Every experience, every tear, every setback is being used to shape the person you are meant to become. Faith is not just a feeling. It is a choice to trust in God even when life does not make sense. There are moments when the weight of struggles makes it hard to believe that anything good can come from them. Doubt creeps in, whispering that the situation is too difficult, the pain too deep, the future too uncertain. But faith does not rely on what is seen. It is the conviction that God's plans are unfolding, even in the unseen, even in the silence, even in the waiting. Prayer is the bridge between human weakness and divine strength. It is not just a request for things to change. It is a declaration of trust in the one who holds all things in his hands. When prayers seem unanswered, it is easy to question whether God is listening. But faith reminds us that silence is not absence, and delay is not denial. God's plans operate beyond human understanding, beyond the limitations of time, beyond what seems logical. What may feel like a delay is often preparation. What may seem like rejection is often protection. Struggles have a way of magnifying fear, making it seem like obstacles are greater than the power of God. But faith shifts the perspective. It takes the focus off the problem and places it on the one who is greater than the problem. It is the assurance that no hardship is without purpose, no battle is fought alone, and no setback is permanent. Even in moments of deep uncertainty, prayer aligns the heart with God's will, reminding the soul that his plans are far greater than the temporary struggles being faced. Through history, there are countless examples of those who faced trials, yet held on to faith through prayer. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, but he did not allow fear to dictate his faith. He prayed, not because he saw a way out, but because he trusted that God had a plan beyond his understanding. The lions were real, the danger was real, but God's protection was greater. His faith did not eliminate the trial, but it sustained him through it. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood before the fiery furnace, knowing that their refusal to bow to an idol would cost them their lives. Yet they did not waver. Their prayer was not a desperate plea to escape the fire. It was a declaration of faith in the God who was able to save. Even when faced with death, they believed that God's plans were higher than their fears. The fire did not consume them because faith is more powerful than flames. Job lost everything, his wealth, his health, his family, yet he continued to trust in God's sovereignty. His prayers were not absent of pain, but they were filled with faith. He questioned, he grieved, but he did not turn away from God. In the end, his faith was rewarded, and his story became a testimony of endurance, proving that struggles do not mean abandonment, and suffering does not mean defeat. Faith does not mean the absence of hardship. It means the presence of trust in the midst of hardship. It is believing that even in struggles, God is still in control. It is understanding that human vision is limited, but God sees the full picture. What may seem like an impossible situation is simply an opportunity for God to reveal his power. What appears to be a failure is often the foundation of something greater. There are moments when prayers feel ineffective, when it seems as if nothing is changing. But prayer is not about immediate results. It is about connection with God. The process of prayer transforms the heart, renews the mind, and strengthens the soul. It is not just about asking for solutions. It is about surrendering to his will, knowing that his plans are perfect, even when they are not understood. Struggles can make it difficult to pray, especially when exhaustion sets in and hope feels distant. But faith is not about feeling strong. It is about relying on God's strength. Even when words fail, even when all that can be offered is a silent cry for help, God hears. He knows the burdens carried, the fears unspoken, the battles unseen. He is not distant. He is present in every moment, working in ways beyond comprehension. There is power in persistent prayer. Even when the answer is not immediate, even when the situation remains unchanged, prayer is never wasted. It shapes character, builds endurance, and deepens faith. It moves mountains not always by removing them, but by giving the strength to climb them. It does not just change circumstances, it changes hearts.